Hello, hello, my green skins. And today we're talking about what if Harrison Ford was Batman? Yes, a little known fact that we actually had Harrison Ford's Batman was actually one of the picks for Batman in the original Michael Keaton version that was done by Tim Burton. So today we have a couple people with us. We have Dragon, Ethereal.
Hello.
I can't hear him now.
Hello.
There we go.
And there we go. And we have Dark as always, and we have another one with us, Val.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
And so we're going to be starting this off with the hypothetical thought process of Harrison Ford gets picked to be Batman instead of Michael Keaton. An interesting little thought process. A lot of people probably it would be an interesting pick, and a lot of people would probably be surprised. But he is the next Batman. The movie shot featuring him. And go. So we'll start with Dark. What do you think would have happened if they would have had Harrison Ford's Batman?
I mean, we can only look at it in hindsight. We can never be certain if it would have had the longevity that it did. But let's suppose it still was somehow still a hit. I think what came after would have been affected because that original movie became the blueprint of most of the Batman stuff that came after, especially the cartoon.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Dragon?
Some people all major fans of Indiana Jones.
Well, yeah, he did have Indiana Jones. Okay, Val, what do you think?
Well, as Beardy did say, he did have Indiana Jones, but if we also have to look at the transitional period of Harrison Ford's acting career.
Mm-hmm.
In the 80s, he had just come off of Star Wars. He had 2 Indiana Jones movies under his belt. He was in Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
And heading into the 90s, he'd be in a couple of Tom Clancy novel-inspired movies,
Mm-hmm.
as well as Air Force One. And he would also pretty much pick up in his additional acting chops as the years would go by.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think that if he was Batman, he could have pulled it off because if you look at, say, some of his lesser-known work, for instance, he was actually in Apocalypse Now for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the pencil-pushing politician for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that could easily have transitioned into, say, a Bruce Wayne. Then whenever he's, like, aggressive, gruff, or, like, whenever he's in, like, Indiana Jones kicking ass, or in Air Force One where he goes from the president to get off my plane, you could definitely see him playing as the dark and gritty Batman of 1989. But it's very hard to see because Michael Keaton kind of defined that role for a good decade.
So here's my thing about it. Okay, the problem with Harrison Ford has what I like to call there are the 3 peaks of man. But Harrison Ford has one of those like perfect has one of those peaks. And one of the peaks is swagger. He is a swagger McJagger type of guy. Like, this is a guy who banged like Carrie Fisher and apparently 2 other women, like within the span of like, a couple days. This is a guy who got laid a lot, according to a lot of people talking about it later on. This is a man who had a lot of swagger. The problem is that he doesn't have that intimidation factor. Harrison Ford has never ever done a role where you actually think he's scary. Michael Keaton was surprisingly, but again, Michael Keaton was not the top pick. A lot of people did not like him for Batman. It's the same idea with Heath Ledger for Joker. A lot of people thought to themselves, Heath Ledger's Joker was garbage. Oh, it's going to suck. Heath Ledger's a loser. Oh, we don't want... Why would anyone want Heath Ledger as Joker? It was a lot. Like, we were all just like, what? Heath Ledger's Joker? No, come on. Who wants Heath Ledger's Joker? It was the same thing with Michael Keaton. A lot of people... At the time, Michael Keaton had done a lot of romance movies. And he was not seen as an action star. And it's funny because if you look at him now, like everyone could see it. He has that intimidation factor. Not only does he have the swagger, but he has that intimidation. He has that way of looking at women and kind of giving them a grin. You know, kind of that sexy, that dark sexy. Harrison Ford has that come on sexy. He has that arrogance. That is great for swagger. That's not good for an intimidation factor. And like that's what makes Bruce Willis, not Bruce Willis, sorry about that. Michael Keaton so fucking good. And I would say that if we had Harrison Ford, I think three things would have happened. One, I think Harrison Ford would have fought with fucking Tim Burton, like a lot, because Harrison Ford was notorious for being a fucking problem. And two, I think he wouldn't have done his own stunts. I think Michael Keaton did a lot of his own stunts for that movie. I don't think Harrison Ford would have done the same. So that I think it would change the movie. I think it wouldn't have the same staying power.
I can definitely understand that, and I actually can agree with you on Harrison Ford probably arguing with Tim Burton. The only directors that Harrison has not had the worst relationship with is George Lucas and Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
The former giving him a chance at being in Hollywood, first with American Graffiti and then Star Wars and Indiana Jones,
Mm-hmm.
and the latter pretty much skyrocketing him to relevance and keeping in touch with him over the years. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Harrison Ford still gets royalties off of Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah, they don't ever have to make another Indiana Jones movie, and he would fucking never ever actually have to worry about anything. Like he could live off the residuals of Indiana Jones for the rest of his life, because every couple years they remake a fucking collection, even the hit of that. But I think he would have fought with Tim Burton. I also think he would have wanted to make changes that would have affected the movie. I think it would be a middling success. I don't think we would have got the Batman animated series because of this.
I kind of have to agree with you on that one. Michael Keaton, he worked closely with Tim Burton, and they also had like a similar relationship that Harrison and Lucas had, because Keaton and Tim, they'd worked together on Beetlejuice. And yeah, you did kind of bring up the fact that Michael Keaton does have that intimidation factor. If you look at the movie, ironically enough, Mr. Mom, there are several moments he has the intimidation moment.
Yeah.
One where he tries to act like the manly man, next time where he's all disheveled, and then finally when he beefs up and kicks the ass of his former boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look at
the thing is,
Go ahead.
what I wanted to say was that I think in the long run, the movies would have altered the path that the Batman franchise had taken, because, like I said, the movie is served as a blueprint for how Batman would be depicted for years to come. So when you watch the cartoon, it's like, okay, they clearly they took elements from that and maybe worked around it or reworked certain elements, but now they would have had different stuff, something different to work off of.
Well,
and we may have gotten
Gotham
something
itself,
different.
Gotham itself, right, was basically a living entity thanks to the Tim Burton movies. Like it made something amazing. Like I would have to say the ones later, the movies after with I can't remember his name now, which is kind of funny. I should know the name.
Christopher Nolan.
Was it? No, not Nolan's Batman. No, Nolan's Batman. No, the one before that. Batman Robin. Batman Forever.
Joel Schumacher. You're thinking of Joel Schumacher.
Schumacher's Batman was a throwback, but he tried to keep the environment, but he changed it in so many ways it just didn't work well. Dragon, what do you think? Do you think Harrison Ford's would have done good, or would have flopped with Harrison Ford at the wheel?
Probably would have just been different.
Yeah. So we think, yeah, a lot of us think that it would change I think it would change all the franchises. To be honest, it's one of those few things that I just think would not have done good, and that's the sad thing. I honestly think that we could have had a great movie, but I don't think the movie would have failed. I think it's kind of like not having Arnold Schwarzenegger to play Dutch. He's Dutch. Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Conan. He is fucking Conan now. Like, no one else. If anybody else does Conan, you're competing with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It just doesn't work.
Back in his heyday, back in the 80s, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, back in the.
Which, comparing him today, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he may be a far cry from what he was back in the 80s. Hell, from back when he was in the 90s even.
Mm-hmm.
He's still technically a god among men.
Mm-hmm.
And no one would want to mess with him. But, yeah, it would change everything.
Well, that's the truth on the matter. We all look at it from that perspective. It's basically I think Michael Keaton he set the stage for what would come after, and I think he did a great job. Like the Tim Burton, even the Batman Returns, the Tim Burton's Batmans really worked. Although they were dark as fuck, it brought something to the TV shows, and I think it kept the TV shows going for a while. Because of that, like they even make fun of the whole fucking Joel Schumacher, the Joel thing in the later seasons of Batman. It's like whatever, Joel, and it kind of did help bring Batman. So the next big question is, who should play Batman next?
For me, in my opinion, I don't think it matters because I am at this point done with Batman. I'm done with a lot of franchises. I'm done with Batman. I'm done with James Bond. Whoever they get doesn't matter to me. I think I think these movies they've had their time and the best has already come and gone. And I think what's making it difficult for me to get into is because I know once they're done with the new guy, what's his name?
Robert Patterson.
Yeah, like once they're done with him, like less than a decade after, they're gonna reboot the series, and the cycle's just gonna keep on going. And to me, my definitive Batman is the animated series from the 90s, and
Yeah.
I'll just stick to that.
Dragon, what do you think will be the next Batman?
If they don't mind, actually, they could poach from some of the MCU actors.
Yeah. Hey, we'll have Chris Hemsworth Batman.
No.
No, Chris Hemsworth? You don't want Ryan Reynolds as Batman and Chris Hemsworth as Batman?
Actually,
How about Jack Black as Batman?
Dude, don't insult us.
Yeah.
Okay, so Val, go ahead.
Jeremy Renner, maybe.
Jerry Reynolds, maybe. Okay,
Yeah,
so
you know,
Val,
the guy that played Hawkeye.
yeah, I could see that. Okay, so Val, go for it.
I'd like to see a Terry McGinnis movie.
Okay, well, we're getting one.
I would like that too, actually.
We're getting that.
There's two things I want
If
to
I
see.
was gonna,
As Val said, Terry McGinnis movie, but the only way for me to be interested in a new Batman project is if it's set in the 30s.
Well, I was actually talking to him about that. Yeah, I think the next Batman was the actually here's who I want as the next Batman. Gotham by Gaslight, Jason Statham as Batman.
That one's a little bit difficult, mainly because Jason Statham, not to be against the guy, because I'm balding myself, but he's bald, and Bruce
So,
Wayne has a thick head of hair. And as much as a toupee could probably hide that, no
you
one's gonna
don't
buy it.
need you don't need that. Like I said, it doesn't matter. Like I would actually say you don't see Jason Statham out of the Batsuit in Gotham by Gaslight. You never see him out of the Batsuit because Gotham by Gaslight is Batman hunting Jack the Ripper.
Okay. Now that is a good idea.
And what if, hypothetically, in the Victorian era, you had all those hairstyles and shit and all that type of weird penny loafer crap in that period of the Jack the Ripper era, have him in that era with doing what he's doing, but have him because you wouldn't see him with that. You wouldn't see him with he has like different hats and stuff. You could have him be bald, and that could still work.
Okay, that is a good point. And to go on what you're saying, the Victorian era would be an interesting setting.
Mm.
But wasn't Gotham by Gaslight made into an animated film like a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I didn't like the animated film, but I would have loved if we had had a Gotham by Gas, like a live action, would have been actually kind of fun. And this is what I think they should do. Actually, they should build what Marvel's doing now is actually very fascinating. And like I was talking to them, the boys about that. We just got Werewolf by Night, the movie, based off the old Marvel horror series that existed. Tomb of Dracula. Like if we get Tomb of Dracula, that'd be awesome.
That would
And
help, but that would be good.
Mhm.
Another thing I think would actually work would be if we had. Sorry to go back to what I was saying before about Terry McGinnis movie. Literally, you could combine the best elements of the noir with the young superhero. Like,
Mhm.
you see Spider-Man combined with the future noir and cyberpunk setting with an aging
Well,
Batman.
we're
And
we're getting at we are getting that.
okay,
So to me, I'm like, this is a mute point because we're fundamentally getting that. We're getting Michael Keaton reprising his role as Bruce Wayne Batman, and he's retiring and he's passing the torch to McGinnis.
Is he
So
begrudgingly doing it?
no, apparently it's a Batman Beyond thing. It's supposed to happen after the Flashpoint Paradox crap. That's the new Flash movie, which I don't want to talk about because I refuse to watch that movie.
I think I've got an idea on who could play Batman, and you guys might find it interesting, given how
Who?
he's played another superhero,
Okay, who?
Charlie Cox.
Don't know who Charlie Cox is.
He played Daredevil in the Netflix Daredevil series.
Just as long as it's not the fake Spider-Man.
Oh, you know what? I like that. Cherry. Yeah, you know what? That's an interesting idea.
And what's funny is that would actually parallel the comics as well, because Frank Miller pretty much made the modern version of Daredevil.
Yeah, yeah, that actually would fucking work. That's actually a surprise. He could do it. I think he could pull it off. He's actually done a great role.
Not
Like,
only that, it could even parallel some of the Frank Miller work. I mean, we wouldn't need a retreading of Batman Year One because we got that with Batman Begins, and we wouldn't need a retread of the Long Halloween because that was the Dark Knight, and we most definitely don't need a retreading of Nightfall mixed with the Dark Knight
I
Return and
don't
the
I
Dark Knight
don't
Rise.
agree. I don't agree with your long Halloween thing with the Batman with the Dark Knight movie, but that's neither here nor there.
It wasn't a perfect adaptation. Christopher Nolan pretty
No,
much cut a ton of stuff out of the comic, but used only the bare bones. Harvey Dent being
Christopher.
secretly corrupt,
Yeah,
explosion damaging his face, and then becoming Two Face. That was it.
yeah. I didn't like. Yeah, it was. Ugh. I'm not going to talk about the Nolan Bat. Batmans. I'm actually one of those. I'm one of those guys that I hate the Nolan Batman. But yeah, no, I think a Terry McGinnis Batman with Michael Keaton is a good idea. I think we're getting it. I just don't know who they're gonna get to play Terry McGinnis. I've heard stories it's going to be a Latina guy, which I'm not a fan of. Like,
Not a
have
good
it.
idea, personally.
No.
I think that Terry McGinnis looks more. Maybe it's just how I see it in the animated series, but I think he'd be like half Asian, kind of like someone who looks like Brendan Lee.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, but but the thing is that makes no sense since he's supposed to be Bruce Wayne's son because of genetic tampering.
half of Bruce Wayne's DNA.
Mhm.
The other half
Mhm.
comes from Terry McGinnis's mom.
And Terry McGinnis's mom is apparently Asian. Yeah.
Oh, is she?
At the very
Yeah,
least,
she
partially
was.
Asian.
Yeah, she's partially Asian, wasn't she? Like, I vaguely remember she's like a Chinese American, but I could be wrong.
No,
Uh,
I think that might be his girlfriend.
I don't know. It's been so long since I've watched Batman Begins. It was a great TV show actually. It was one of the best. I would have to say that is the second best Batman like superhero TV show out there. Batman animated and then Batman Beyond was really well done. I wasn't a big fan of the other ones, but yeah, no. We're supposed to get this after Flashpoint. Like they're fucking doing. I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do with Flashpoint, especially with that insanity. But that's the next build up. The new Black Adam supposed to play a part in it too, and that's gonna be interesting.
He actually, from what I've seen, because I work at a movie theater,
Hmm.
I have seen that it has Hawkman and
Hmm.
Doctor Fate in it, just to name two important superheroes in the DC canon. Like Hawkman,
Well,
he's a part of the Justice League, and then Doctor Fate, he controls or wields the power of fate itself, I should say.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. We're gonna have to put spoilers where you pop in now, saying that because a lot of people haven't seen it yet.
Oh no,
But
I
the
haven't
thing
even
is,
seen it. All I have to say is that that's all I know,
yeah,
and that's just in the trailers.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Oh,
not to
okay. That's
mention
in the
the
trailers.
not to mention the fact that the toy line also.
Oh, the Twilight's already out. Jesus fuck. So no, okay, we've gone past our thing, but no, yeah, I think it would have changed Batman forever if Harrison Ford. Like, I actually think it would have been that's a paradoxal, like that's a butterfly effect right there, and I
That
think
would
it
have
Batman
would
ended
have changed
Forever.
it.
with Harrison Ford quitting horribly. Like there would have been a blow up because if he had issues with Tim Burton,
Mm.
I can promise you he would have had even more issues with Joel Schumacher.
Well, Joel Schumacher didn't get Batman until after Michael Keaton. They actually got rid of Michael Keaton because of Joel Schumacher. Apparently when I've heard stories about that, he wanted to keep playing Batman, but they Schumacher kicked him.
Oh
They
man,
didn't
that
want.
sucks.
That sucks, but that's the truth. They kicked him apparently. So that's our pick of our that is our what if scenario. Well, it looks like to a lot of us agree that Harrison Ford would have, kind of ended it. Uh I'd like to thank everybody for our what if, like, subscribe, and hopefully people like these. They seem to like these a lot, so we might do more what ifs. All right, have yourselves a good one, guys. See ya.
Like,
Bye.